That looked more like I was shaking my fist at him. This is a fist pump, baby. Let's go. Mariners win 2-0. They take the first of the 3-game series against the Astros. They improved to 67-55 on the season. I believe that's the first time they've been 12 games over 500. If it's not, so be it. But they've now won 4 straight. And guess what? Your Seattle Mariners are now the third wild card spot by a half a game over the Toronto Blue Jays. Real easy to talk about how this one happens. Third inning, Julio Rodriguez homers. Sixth inning, Mike Ford homers. Nothing else happens in terms of scoring. A lot of stuff happens in between. We'll talk about it. Andres Munoz gets the save. Mariners get a massive, massive victory. I don't think you can say the word massive enough here, folks, especially with some of the stuff that happened. But before we get into all the positives and some negatives, Simply Seattle, they're a positive. Oh, they are a positive for sure because they have the very best in Seattle attire that you can get. You see this gorgeous hat? I don't think there's a better looking hat on the market right now, folks. And guess where I got that? You bet. Simply Seattle. Anything you're looking for from the Mariners in terms of hats, hoodies, t-shirts, whatever you can get from Simply Seattle. And the same can be said for the Kraken, for the Supersonics, for the Seahawks, for the Huskies, for the Tacoma Rainiers. There's all FC Ballard if you're looking to expand your horizons. Everything you could be possibly looking for is there. And here's the best part. You can get 15% off your order by using code MOLLYWOP15. That's all one word, MOLLYWHOP15 to get 15% off your order off of already great prices. It's just another way to make your order a little bit cheaper. We love it, folks. And we cannot thank Simply Seattle enough for sponsoring the show. All right, let's start with some negatives. Oh, boy. The offense outside of that one guy and Teoscar Hernandez was pretty brutal tonight. But it's kind of weird because you go 0 for 17 with runners in scoring position. Amazing to win a game where you don't get a hit with a runner in scoring position and you have a lot of chances. 0 for 17. So you got guys on, but you did a horrible job of knocking them in. Ty France goes 0 for 4 in those situations. Josh Rojas 0 for 2. Cal Raleigh played, I think, one of the worst games I think he's played, to be completely honest with you. Called a pretty good game behind the plate, but oh my goodness gracious, did he struggle at the plate. Kid Marlowe struggled. Mike Ford, who hits the homer, and we're going to talk about it in the positives, don't get me wrong. Outside of that homer, 3 really bad at bats. Josh Rojas, I think, played his worst game as a Seattle Mariner. Jose Caballero, not great, and we'll talk about him again in a second. But that's really your negative here is you're so fortunate to win this game, and it's nice to win a game that I don't think you got outplayed per se, but you could discuss it. By the way, I'm sorry, guys. The beeping's still going on. I did not get the help that I thought I was going to get last night. I hear that beep every 5-10 minutes. It seems like it's probably less, but it's extremely annoying, and I apologize. We hope to have it fixed tomorrow. Fingers crossed, because I know it's super annoying, but it's just the way it works. Positives. Because that's the only negative here. The only negative here is that you're up. No, that's not true. That's not true, Chris. Get a hold of yourself. You're excited from this win, but get a hold of yourself. The negative is you were terrible tonight in clutch situations and with runners in scoring position. The situational hitting could not have been worse tonight. And then for 7.5 innings or so, you played a fantastic defensive game. Now, it was more all 8 innings, I think. And there were some terrific plays. Eugenio Suarez turned one of the best double plays I've seen this year. But that late inning defense, that was problematic. And you see, even though I think J.P. Crawford, I've talked about it ad nauseum, and I hate talking about a guy who's dealing with what he's dealing with right now, is an overrated defensive player. But you also see how much this team misses him. They miss him at the top of the lineup. Well, kind of, because the guy at the top of the lineup is as hot as any hitter I've ever seen. But you miss him near the top of the lineup at least. And you miss his defense because those are plays J.P. Crawford makes. Even though I think J.P. Crawford's defense is vastly overrated by the team and vastly overrated by the announcers, he's better than what Jose Caballero's giving you defensively. There were a couple of plays tonight Like even the play he made that Sims went gaga over that pick, that was luck. That was a very fortunate play for him to be able to make. All due respect to Caballero. You know, plays made. Great. But he could have had, and they also did not call an error on that play in the ninth inning. I don't know how. That's an error. That's an absolute error. I want to talk about errors in a second too. Um, yeah, that late inning defense was problematic. And Josh Rojas, who I think has done mostly a really nice job defensively, has kind of screwed up the last two late inning chances that I've seen him get. He makes that pretty critical error against Kansas City, and he can't make the transfer play. He's got to make those plays. He doesn't hit well enough for him not to be good defensively. For the most part, I think Rojas's defense since he's gotten here has been very good. But there have been a couple of mistakes lately. Sus, I think, is what the kids would say about his defense in the late innings of those last two, at the very best, because that almost killed him. And let's get into the positives. Let's kind of go backwards, I guess, because since we're talking about Munoz, yeah, he gives up 2 hits. those aren't his problem. He gave up nothing but weak contact. He threw strikes. He got ahead of hitters. Houston just did a nice job of chopping a couple of balls. That's purely what it is. Now, I want to see Munoz start missing bats again. No question about it. But that was weak contact, folks. I thought Munoz looked really good. The velocity was good. I thought he did a very solid job tonight. And if it would have been a blown save, it would have been on the defense and bad luck. It wouldn't have been on Munoz. Justin Topa was fantastic. Fantastic. I loved using him for that 5-out situation there. Thought that was perfect managing by Scott Service. Thought this was one of the best games Scott Service has managed this year, in fact. And Bryce Miller. Yeah, he only has the 2 strikeouts. And 50 of 82 pitches for strikes is not great. He passed the eye test tonight for sure. He was really good. Really, really strong effort. Got bailed out by his defense a couple of times. But for the most part, I don't think you could say enough good things about Bryce Miller tonight. They needed it. They need him to get into the 6th inning and the 7th inning. I'm not asking for it every single time. But when you can get 6 and a third innings, when you can get him to go 3 times through the lineup, that's huge. That is absolutely huge because Bryce Miller has to be more than just a rookie pitcher at this point. It's not fair to him, but he does. They are relying on Bryce Miller. No question about it. Because you don't know what you're getting from the 5th spot. You just don't. Even if and when Wu comes back into a starting role, you can't count on him to be a strong option. Nothing I've seen from Emerson Hancock suggests to me that he's ready to be a strong option. I'm sorry, I have not been impressed with what Emerson Hancock has done over these first 2 starts. I think he was very lucky in one and could have been a lot worse even after giving up 5 runs in the second. Many of you disagreed. Good for you. Totally your call. This guy didn't pass the eye test to me. Good for Mike Ford to hit that homer. Look, I've been as critical of Mike Ford, I think, as anybody. And it's not because I don't like Mike Ford. I think he's one of the best stories on the Mariners. A guy that nobody wanted. Nobody. And it's no question that he's a success story. Good for him. He would not be on my roster. But everything you've gotten from him is just gravy. Gravy, gravy, gravy. Every homer from this point on is gravy. Every hit from this point on is gravy. Really was from the start. Everything like I said, everything he's given you, gravy. I mean, he looked awful in those other 3 at-bats, but he had a terrific at-bat to hit that homer on a good pitch, a good breaking ball from JP France, who pitched well tonight. Pitched really well. The Astros are going to be a problem for a long time. Very, very long time. But great job by Ford. Really nice game from Teoscar. Deserved better. 3 for 4, hits a double. was in scoring position a bunch. The Mariners just could not get Dude home. Could not get Dude home. All right, enough of. We're doing it again. I think this is the third straight game where we're just gonna wax poetically about Dude. But what do you say about Julio? What is there to say other than thank you, whoever you want to thank for bringing him into my life? What an absolute star. 9 straight at bats with a hit. And folks, I know we've talked a lot about scorekeeping, more than I'd like to have talked about it. I would have given him a hit. I thought that was a hit. Now, for those of you who missed it, he hits a little knuckler, a little bit of velocity on it, but it kind of knuckles away, and then Pena can't make the play. And I thought for sure they were going to give it a hit because hometown scorekeepers love to not give errors. Love it. But they ruled it in air. So all he does instead is goes 4 for 5 with a homer and 2 stolen bases. But he could be having another 5 for 5 night. It would not shock me if somebody overturns that. Whether they should or not, I don't know. But it's another unbelievable carry your roster game from Julio Rodriguez as a 22-year-old. Now hitting 274, 333, 460, 21 homers, 32 stolen bases. And I don't think that's even close to indicative of how good he's been for the majority of the year. Oh, man. I mean, what else can you say? What else can you say other than thank you? Absolute star. And if I didn't mention it before, and I'm pretty sure I did, with this win and with the Blue Jays losing 1-0 to the Reds, the Seattle Mariners are currently the third wild card team. They are currently in the postseason. A lot of baseball left. 40 games to go. But I've talked about control your destiny, control your destiny. Now it's official. Now it is official that the Seattle Mariners have this all in their hands. It was theoretically true, or whatever word you want to use for it before, but now it's mathematically true. It is literally in your hands. Didn't think we were going to get there. I mean, look, I spent how many times did I say I refuse to give up on the season? Like a billion. But after the Seawald trade and after how they played during that game afterwards, and looking at the teams ahead of them, I didn't know if we were going to get here. I certainly wasn't 100% sure. I wasn't 100% sure when I was saying I refused to give up on the season. But I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy. Now let's get selfish and let's see if we can take 2 more here in Houston. Let's see if we can do that. Tough one tomorrow because Framber Valdez is on the mound and he's pretty darn good. Logan Gilbert's on the mound and he's pretty darn good too. So fun. Fun. And what can you say about Julio? What an absolute superstar. And I don't want Bryce Miller's performance to get lost in the shuffle either. That was fantastic. Fantastic stuff. Please hit like and subscribe. Again, I'm so thankful for all the support you guys have been showing. This has been amazing. Please follow me on whatever they call it now at Crawford underscore MILB. Follow me on Blue Sky. I'm definitely going to be using that more. Crawford Crispy. Really appreciate that as well. Sports Sometimes podcast, check that out. RotoWire Fantasy Baseball podcast, check that out. And Sportstopia is coming. Super excited about that. Let's go.